Hello, yes, and welcome to our Objective 3 notes. Objective 3 says, I can identify and plot points on a coordinate plane and values on a number line. So that's our objective we're going to talk about today. We're going to get started by talking about number lines, all right? Now, a number line is a line used to mark values in intervals where negative infinity is on the left and positive infinity is on the right. So basically, as we go from left to right, we are getting more positive. So let's say we have 0 right here in the center. Over here would be the negative direction. Over here would be the positive. So if I wanted to place some values here, I could say like negative 11's there, negative 6 is here, positive 7, something like that. And we could put all those right in place. And that's the idea of a number line, right? We can see what number is more negative all the way up to what is more positive. So with that being said, we're going to start by just plotting some values on the number line. Now notice the values that we have here. All of these are rational numbers. We're going to be able to place them right where they should go. So we have 2, negative 3, 1/2, positive 3, negative 3/2, and 0.29. So on my number line, I'm going to start by just marking 0. And I think that's a nice thing to do because it kind of grounds me and say, okay, here's 0. I know all my positive numbers need to be on the right. All my negative numbers need to be on the left. So from there, I can say, all right, which of these numbers is the most negative? Well, negative 3 is the most negative. So it'll be the farthest on the left. Now, which of these is also negative? Negative 3/2. So it'll be on the left as well. Now, going to the right, which of these are the next highest positive value? It looks like it'll be 0.29, and then we'll have 1/2, and then we'll have 2, and then 3. And just like that, we can place all of these values. Now let's double check. I got negative 3, I got negative 3/2, I got 0.29, I got 1/2, I got 2, I got 3. Excellent. We placed all of those values right in order from least on the left to greatest on the right. Now looking at letter B, we actually have an irrational number here, square root of 15. Now I know the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 15 is just a little less than 4, so we're going to estimate that it's about 3.8. And now I'm going to go ahead and plot 0 there. Alright, so now I'm looking at my negative numbers. I got negative 1, negative 12, and negative 5. So negative 12 is the most least number there. And then it'd be negative 5. Then negative 1, fall in right there. I've got those 3 taken care of. Now looking at my positive numbers, I have 7/2, I have 6, and I have the square root of 15, which we know is about 3.8. So 7/2 is 3.5. So that would be the least positive number we have. So 3.5 would go right there, aka 7/2, right? And then we'd have our square root of 15 falling in right there. And then 6 is our most positive number. And we can see how we went from least to greatest, from negative to positive, as we went from left to right. Raise your hand if you have any questions. I'm going to ask that you guys go ahead and try C, D, E, and F on your own. And then we'll check those together, alright? So go ahead and pause this video now, and then we'll check those together. Alright, let's see how we did. So I'm going to go ahead and start with letter C. I'm going to place 0 there. My negative numbers are negative 9/2 and negative 2. Negative 9/2 is negative 4.5, which is definitely less than negative 2. So I'll place that furthest to the left. And then negative 2 can go there. I got those 2 taken care of. Now let's look at our positive values. We got 1.39, we got 7, and we have 6/5. Now 6/5 as a decimal is 1.2, which is less than 1.39. So that 6/5 is going to be closest to 0. And then I'll have 1.39 here. And then 7 will be furthest on the right. It is indeed the most positive value we have. Alright, let's check letter D. The square root of 4 is 2, so that means that this value is negative 2. The square root of 16 is 4. Excellent. Alright, and then we have 0, 4/3, and negative 1.24. So I'm going to go ahead and plot 0. It's nice that they gave us that one. Sweet. Negative 2 would be the most negative value we have. Negative 1.24 would be between negative 2 and 0. I got those two taken care of. Now I have 4/3 or 4. Well, 4/3 is definitely less than 4. And then I would put the square root of 16 right there, which is indeed 4. Excellent. Fantastic. Let's check out letter E. We're getting some bigger numbers here. Oh boy. Now, looking at letter E, we have 12, we have negative 28.4, we have 158, we have negative 83, and we have 76. So even as these numbers get bigger, the idea of the number line stays the same, right? We're putting our most negative on the left and our most positive on the right. So I'd have negative 83 furthest on the left. I would have negative 28.4 between negative 83 and 0. Then I'd have 12. Then 76, and then 158. That's definitely our highest value here. All right, got all those taken care of. Let's move on to letter F. We got 0 again. Excellent. There's only one negative number here, it looks like, negative 1, so that will be the only one on the left, which means we're going to have to organize these much better. So 3.54, 4.57, those are actually already listed in order from least to greatest. Talk about a nice little exercise. Thank you, Mr. Carter. We appreciate that a lot. All right. If you're feeling good, go ahead and move on. Raise your hand if you have any questions. Next, we're going to talk about elements of the coordinate plane. We're going to define a couple terms, and then we're going to get into these terms and how we can use them when we're plotting points and things like that. So first term, we're going to define our quadrants. And quadrants are the sections the coordinate plane is split into. There are 4 quadrants, that's why it's called quadrants. Oh goodness, I can't spell. There we go. Split into. Alright, there's quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. If you look down below, quadrant 1 is in the top right, quadrant 2, top left, quadrant 3, bottom left, quadrant 4 is the bottom right. If you go, it kind of makes a C if you follow it 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way around. That's how I remember that. The x-axis is the horizontal axis on the coordinate plane. Coordinate plane. I always have to spell that one out in my head. And then the y-axis is the vertical axis, also on the coordinate plane. All right, so looking across, that x-axis is blue, the y-axis is red. The origin is where the x and y-axis meet. Really, I should say where they intersect. That's a better mathematic term there. That origin's right here, and it intersects at the point 0, 0. Alright, that origin. Now 0, 0 is a coordinate pair, and a coordinate pair is a way to notate points on the coordinate plane. Coordinate, very nice. Alright, so with all that being said, I want you guys to know something about how the coordinate pairs relate to the quadrants. So if I'm looking at quadrant 1, I'm moving in a positive direction in my x, right? Think of this as a number line. Negatives on the left, positives on the right. So I'm moving in a positive direction horizontally, and I'm also moving in a positive direction vertically. Positives up, negative down. So anything that's in the first quadrant is going to have a positive x value and a positive y value. Now notice how that changes in the second quadrant. So this time I'm moving left, which means I'm moving in a negative direction horizontally, which means I'm going to have a negative x value, but I'm still moving up, so I'll still have that positive y value. Now looking at quadrant 3, I'm moving left, so that's that negative x, but this time I'm also moving down, so I'll have a negative y value. And in quadrant 4, once again, I'm moving to the right, so I'm moving in a positive horizontal direction, but a negative vertical direction. So this will be a positive x and negative y. Now look at how those relations, each one of these is different, and by looking at a point, looking at a coordinate pair, we can identify what quadrant that point is in and then place it appropriately. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to identify the coordinates of points A, B, and C in this graph below, and then plot your own points D, E, F, and G, and then answer this question. So go ahead and pause the video and then take care of those tasks, all right? All right, let's check how we did. So point A is in the first quadrant, and it looks like I have to go right 6 and then up 8. So we always do the horizontal and then the vertical. So this coordinate point would be 6, 8, which tells me right 6, up 8. Now for B, I went left 6 and up 2. So this one would be negative 6, 2. And for C, I went right 4, down 4. That put me in the fourth quadrant. So it would be 4, negative 4. All right, now let's plot our own points. D, negative 2, negative 5. So that tells me left 2, down 5, left 2, down 5. Put me right there. Now I'm going to plot that point, and I'm going to label it as well. Now E is 8, negative 8, which means right 8 and then down 8. So that would place me right here. And that is point E. I suppose I don't really need a parentheses there, just E. And then we have negative 3, 9. So that would be left 3, up 9. That would place me right here. That would be letter F. And then letter G, 3, 2. So that would be right 3, up 2. There is point G. Fantastic. All right. Now, which quadrant only has 1 point plotted? Well, the first has 2, the second has 2, the third just has point D. So this is the third quadrant. And we also, normally we write quadrants with Roman numerals. So first, it's like that, second, like that, third, and then remember 4 in Roman numerals is a little different because we'd say 1 before 5. And that's how we would notate our quadrants here. So which quadrant only has 1 point plotted? The third quadrant. All right. Raise your hands if you have any questions. If not, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to practice plotting points and then manipulating those points a little bit. So looking at this first example, plot the point provided on the coordinate plane. We have A, B, C, D, and then we're going to reflect some points and switch them up and relabel them. All right. So let's plot these points first. So looking at A, negative 2, negative 5, that'd be left 2 and then down 5. That would put me right here. And go ahead and label that point. That's A. And then B is 8, 2. So I'd count right 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then up 2. Put me right there. That would be point B. C is 4, negative 4. So I'd go right 4 and then down 4. That'll put me right there. D is 0, 7. So 0, 7 means I'm not moving left or right. So I'll stay on this y-axis here as I go up 7. That'll put me right here. That would be point D. So now look at what it says for us to do in B here. Reflect point A across the x-axis. Plot and label the point A prime. So the x-axis remembers that horizontal axis right here going straight across. So if I were to flip A to the other side of that axis, remember I moved it down 5. So now it's going to be up 5, which I believe would place it right here. And it says to plot and label that point A prime. There we go. Now what about C? Reflect point B across the y-axis. So that y-axis, remember, is our vertical axis. So I'm going to flip B to the other side of that. Now it was at 2, 8. So, or sorry, 8, 2. So now it's going to be at negative 8, 2. And we're going to label that B prime. Raise your hands if you have any questions on this. This is a kind of a tricky exercise here, but it's really going to solidify our understanding of the coordinate plane. Let's try another one together. Let's try number 2. So again, we're going to plot points. So 4, 6 means right 4, up 6, and that is point A. Negative 9, 9. So that would be left 9, up 9. Right here, that's point B. 0, 5. So I would go over 0 and then up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would put me right here. That's point C. And D is 7, negative 2. So I'd go right 7. Oh, goodness. Got my notes going all over the place here. Let's try that again. If I scroll back down. 7, negative 2, so I'd go right 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then down 2. That would put me right here. That is point D. Now, it says to reflect point D across the y-axis. So that y-axis, remember, is that horizontal one right there. If I were to reflect it across the y-axis, that's the vertical one. I said the x-axis, didn't I? There you go, the y-axis. There we go. So flip it across this y-axis. So it was right 7, down 2. So now it'll be left 7, down 2 from the origin, which would put me right there. And plot and label that point D prime. And then it says draw a line that connects point B with D prime. So I would just draw a line segment here that connects those 2 points. All right, raise your hands if you have any questions. If not, why don't you guys go ahead and try number 3 on your own, and then we'll check that together. So go ahead and pause the video and then do number 3 and we'll check it together. All right, let's check how we did. So point A is 6, 0, so I'd go right 6. 5, 6, that's right here, point A. Now B is 4, negative 3, so I'd go right 4 and then down 3. That's B. C is negative 2, negative 9, so I'd go left 2, down 9. That'd put me right here. And D is negative 5, 5, so I'd go left 5 and then up 5, which I believe will place me right here. So that's point D. Let's see what it asks us to do. Reflect point D across the y-axis. So that y-axis, remember, is that vertical axis. So reflecting it across there. So what was at negative 5, 5 will now be at 5, negative 5. Which would put me right here. Label that D prime. And then it says, oh, check this. We're going to reflect point D prime across the x-axis and label that D double prime. So x-axis is that horizontal one. If I flip it going the other way, I'm going to end up right on top of where I labeled B, aren't I? So I'm going to move this label real quick. I'm going to put it up here. And now I'll be at 5, negative 5, which will be right here. And that is D double prime. All right, how do we do? If we're feeling good, I want you to finish out these notes and then we'll chat them together. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and I'll come around and try to assist the best I can, clarify anything. So if you're feeling good, go ahead and do 4, 5, and 6 on your own and then we'll check those together. All right, let's check how we did. So point A is 7, 3, so that would be right 7, up 3, puts me right there. Point B is negative 5, negative 9, so that'd be left 5 and then down 9. That'll be way down there. That's point B. C is 2, negative 4, so we'd go right 2 and then down 4. There is C. And D is negative 1, 8, and that'd put me up here. There's point D. Reflect point A across the y-axis, plot and label that point A. So if I'm moving from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, think about what's going to change. My x is now going to be negative, so this will become negative 7, positive 3. This will be A prime. Draw a line segment between the origin and point B. Remember, the origin is 0, 0, where the x and y-axis cross, so our line segment right there would look just like that. All right, looking at number 5. Plot the points. A, we have negative 3, negative 2, puts me right there. B, 7, 0, that means right 7, up 0. Fantastic. C, negative 4, 6, so that'd be left 4, up 6. That'll put me right there, I believe. Oh, I should be labeling that. That's C, that's B, that's A. D is 1, 9, so up 1, over 1, up 9. That's point D. Reflect C across the x-axis. Plot and label that C prime. So if I'm going from quadrant 2 to quadrant 3, my y is going to become negative. So now I'm going to be at negative 4, negative 6, which would put me right there. Label that C prime. Draw a line that connects A with C prime. Well, those are right next to each other. There we go. There's our line segment connecting those. Very nice. All right, number 6. Plot the points provided. 7, 9, so we'd be right 7, up 9, that'd put me way up here. It's point A. 8, negative 3 would be right 8, and then down 3. That'd put me right there. That's point B. C is 0, 0, aka the origin. Fantastic. D is negative 6, negative 2. So that'd be left 6, down 2. D will put me right there. Reflect point B across the y-axis and the x-axis. Plot and label the point B prime. Alright, so I like to do this one at a time here. So first I'm going to flip it over the y-axis, which means I'm going to move from quadrant 4 to quadrant 1. So that would put me here. But I'm not done, because now I need to flip it across the x-axis. Goodness, what am I doing? No. B across the y-axis would be here. So I need to go from quadrant 4 to quadrant 3. Goodness, I'm confusing myself. Take it across here, so now it's going to be at negative 8, negative 3, which would be here. But I'm not done, because now I need to flip it across the x, which would put it right here. Now, I wanted to hide what I was doing with you, but you'll probably already figured it out. This order really doesn't matter, because if I would have stayed and put it back up here and done x and then y, guess what? I would have ended up at the same place. That's the cool part about reflecting over x and y. Really what you're doing is it's a rotation around the origin, around point C. Now what quadrant is point A in? The first quadrant. There we go. Alright, and that concludes our notes for today. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Regardless, please raise your hand so I can get you your practice problems. And I'll see you next time.